Alright, hello everybody. My name is Texoma, and today I thought that I'd do a breakdown of my track Connection through AMFLARA. In case you're not familiar with what this sounds like, it sounds like this. Yeah, we'll just go ahead and hop right into it. So the intro kind of sets the stage for the song, I feel. You have this like vocal. It's an ambient loop that I kind of granulized the hell out of. Kind of volume faded in. As well as the string texture. And then we move into some other things such as this, which is another ambience layer. You have the drums, which is it's a pretty simple loop. I thought that, you know, it's very simple and it's very light in a way, so I kind of thought that it'd be perfect. And then we have our sub and our chords coming in. Which the chord patch is very simple. Just two oscillators, almost no unison except for the first wavetable. Multiband compression, low pass filter, and reverb. And then we also have this, which is a piano. Piano is very prevalent throughout the entire song. And then we have our vocal here. There's a very specific reason that I chose this vocal, along with the drop vocal. You can find me. So for vocal processing, kind of cut the fundamental. Did a dip around 5 to 6 kilohertz. Kind of de-ess it. Compressed it. Multitalk is probably my favorite compressor for doing vocals. It's very nice. And then a limiter to kind of gain stage it, as well as we have it sidechain to a reverb track. Doing that just kind of creates a lot of space for the vocal, because you have 100% dry and then also 100% wet just turned down a bit. So you get the full wetness of the reverb plus the dryness of the actual vocal itself. Now the reason I chose this vocal is because in the same pack there is another vocalist doing the same vocals. So I thought that'd actually probably be it'd create a really nice contrast, but also keeping it, you know, relatively familiar and the same. When it comes to the build-up, we start introducing the actual drums from the drop, of course, being pretty, I'd say, normal rhythm slash future rhythm drums. You have this riser. Riser's pretty simple, nothing special there. We have this impact here, which is a clap that's just reverbed. And then we actually have our drop here being low passed in. Give it extra like, oh, it's hype, you know, it's like, oh, it's hype, and we're hyping this up. And then we move into the drop. The transition from the build up to the drop, I kind of wanted to sound like an open-ended letter almost. Tossing the baton from the male vocalist to the female vocalist. So first things first, let's go ahead and get into the actual color base here that's going on. So by itself, it sounds like this. So the funny thing about this project is the actual bass itself, this thing here. You notice it's on insert 1. That's because that's the first thing I did for this project. So that's what the bass itself sounds like, the modulator. So what this originally was I was trying to make tear out dubstep, which is really surprising considering how this song turned out. So we started out with tear out dubstep, and then we kind of moved into rhythm, future rhythm and color bass, which I think is kind of wild, to be honest. So you'll notice here we have two different chord layers. So how I usually make color basses is I tend to have filter and volume movement following the basis itself, just to kind of make it cleaner and give it its own unique sound. So we have this chord layer. Then we have our second chord layer here. It doesn't have much filter movement, but it does have that volume movement that helps to carry it all. And then of course we have our sub, which is just a sub. Nothing special. Drum pattern is the most simplest of... there is some variation such as... like... And on top of that, we also have some other layers here for the color base, which help to kind of give it a lot more depth. So I'm gonna go ahead and mute these chord layers here. And these are just really fast arpeggios. So it's just to give some extra depth to the bass. On top of that, we have some of the ambience from the intro carried over. I added some volume automation to kind of make the drop a bit cleaner so it wasn't too atmospheric. As well as this ambience loop is also the same. As well as we have these, I believe this is a Celesta. Celesta is one of my favorite instruments. That's a glockenspiel. So, sounds a bit out of tune because it's tuned to 430 Hertz for a different project I'm working on. But yeah, and then we also have the female vocal, of course. And all of it together, of course, sounds like this. I have this like little transitionary vocal, which I think very nice. I heard this in my library. It's like, I need that. But yeah, that's the basics of the drop. And then we have the bridge. The bridge, I feel, is probably my personal favorite part of the song. I wanted something that was super grand and something that was super cinematic to kind of just give it, you know, like all that much more like hype. I kind of just went through and dipped into my early days of composing through sheet music and composing for like an actual orchestra. And so we ended up with this kind of piano going along with an orchestra. I use BBC Symphony Orchestra because personally I have a huge soft spot for classical music. I'm a bit of a classical music nerd. So I wanted to kind of just compose something that was a little different and kind of contrasting from the rest of the project. So I did this little orchestra section just to kind of also like build general hype and all that together with the glockenspiel and the tambourines. Yeah, so moving into the second drop, because the buildup is relatively the same. The second drop, I just used a same patch, but I just kind of made it to where it slowed down and it wasn't anchored to a BPM. And of course, there's also some variation here, specifically with this part. Just kind of, you know, keep it fresh. And other than that, I did cut it short just to kind of, you know, wrap up this song because it is already 4 minutes. So at the end, I kind of joined the two vocals together, here and here. I joined the two vocals together just to kind of, you know, bring meaning to the song. The song's called Connection, and I connected the two vocals together. Kind of cheesy, but it works. You can find me waiting. It just kind of, it gives the track that really nice feeling of closure, especially with the piano outro. And it just kind of volume fades out. So yeah, that is my track Connection. Huge shout out to AMFLARA for getting it distributed. Very cool, very nice people, very great people, very good community. Yeah, it's on all platforms. It'll be down in the video description if you want to listen